What is up, guys? Dzeeff here, and I have been playing a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Over the past few weeks. You guys might have seen some of my live streams on Twitch. By the way, follow me on there if you haven't already, but I have been playing against a lot of current decks, and one of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of people are playing cards that are very old, and it's really exciting to see these cards being so good in the modern era. In today's video, I want to go over just a handful of cards that are really old that are currently seeing play in a lot of top decks right now. If you guys enjoyed today's video at any point, make sure to subscribe for more content. Anyway, the first card I want to talk about is one that I've been using a lot, and I've seen a lot of other people using it as well, Book of Moon. So Book of Moon is a quick play spell card that says, target one face-up monster on the field, change that target to face-down defense position. Now, it's not super surprising that Book of Moon is still good to this day. This card always has had a habit of going in and out of the metagame throughout the years, and right now it's back in the metagame, and oh man, is this card great. What makes Book of Moon so appealing is that it's good going first and second, and right now a lot of players want that. When you go first, you can set the Book of Moon as a great piece of interruption on your opponent's turn, but even when you go second, the card is still usable because you can use it to bait a negation that your opponent has on one of their monsters. By using a Book of Moon on a card with an interruption ability, your opponent is forced to interact with the Book of Moon instead of whatever they would want to use the negation on. And because Book of Moon is not a hard once per turn because the card is so old, it means if you draw multiple copies, you can force a ton of negations on your opponent's board. It's really exciting. After that, you are free to use your regular cards to do your regular combos, and the Book of Moon was able to prevent your cards from being negated by forcing all of your opponent's interactions. Book of Moon is a great card right now. I'm sure a lot of you watching this video have already tried it out, but if you haven't, now is a great time to do so. Next up, we have Harpies Feather Duster, unbanned about 8 months ago after being banned for a very long time, and unsurprisingly, this card is still great in the modern era. Yes, over the years, we've gotten more and more back row removal cards like Cosmic Cyclone and Twin Twisters and even Lightning Storm, but Harpies Feather Duster is by far the best in a lot of situations. It requires no setup, no life point cost, no discard. Harpies Feather Duster is where it's at for back row removal. Now, cards like Cosmic and Twin are still great, especially when you can chain them to a continuous spell or trap card, but Harpies Feather Duster is so simply good in a lot of situations that it is one of the more common side deck choices. Even in decks where people have opted out of Lightning Storm to play cards like Cosmic Cyclone or Twin Twisters, Harpies Feather Duster is still usually in their side decks. It's just that good. Next up, when it comes to old school cards, it doesn't get much older than Dark Magician and Red Eyes Black Dragon. These were two of the original monsters in the game. Both of them were in LOB, of course, and they are currently seeing play in any deck that wants to summon Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. Admittedly, Dark Magician and Red Eyes are not seeing play to be summoned, they are only seeing play to be used as material for that Dark Dragoon with Red Eyes Fusion, but still, it's pretty cool to see cards this old actually have relevance in the modern era. Yes, you could play a dedicated Dark Magician deck, and you could play a dedicated Red Eyes deck, and in those decks you might actually summon these cards, but at the very least in competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! These cards are technically seeing play, which personally I think is pretty cool. Several months ago, I made a video about Torrential Tribute, and I talked about how after many years of not seeing play, it finally was back in competition as a 3-of in a lot of controlled decks, and really it's only gotten better since then. It's been really fun to watch this happen. Torrential Tribute was a fantastic card back in the day, a staple card for pretty much every single deck. But as the years went on and decks got more and more extenders and more ways to prevent Tribute from actually dealing with their board, Torrential Tribute kind of fell out of favor. Now though, a lot of people are playing this card. It is a staple choice in virtually every single control deck in the format right now. It's really cool. Torrential Tribute is an easy board wipe that you can use on the opponent's turn, and it can catch a lot of opponents off guard even nowadays. What makes the card really good though, just like Book of Moon, Moon is that it is not a hard once per turn. In a lot of cases, one of the things that makes these old cards so appealing to modern players right now is that they are not hard once per turns, and that is pretty valuable. I talked about it with Book of Moon already, where if you open multiple copies, you can use all of them to bait a whole bunch of interruptions, and with Torrential Tribute, you have a similar situation. You can use multiple copies of this card in the same turn, so if you have a lot of back row cards, you could Torrential your opponent's first push, and then their second push, and maybe even their third push if you have 3 copies of this card. Now realistically, you probably are not going to draw all 3 copies on turn 1, but I think that you could see 2 copies enough times where it does come up. I'm guessing most of you watching this video that play control decks are already playing Torrential Tribute, but just in case you are not, now is a great time to give it a chance. Torrential Tribute is definitely one of the best traps in the game right now, and it absolutely is a great choice for any control deck. Speaking of control decks, Solemn Judgement is a fantastic card right now, not only in control decks but also in combo decks or pretty much any strategy when you are going first in games 2 and 3. While Solemn Judgement might be a main deck option for some control decks, I think where the card has really impressed me over the past couple of weeks is pretty much just any random deck side decking Solemn Judgement to side into in games 2 or 3 whenever they're going first. And that does give a lot of decks a new dimension of interruption. A lot of the big combo decks end on a bunch of monster negations, and one of the best cards to deal with that sort of setup would be Dark Ruler No More. So Solemn Judgement can completely stop that ability, and that is a big deal. Solemn Judgement is an all-purpose counter trap. It says when a monster or monsters would be summoned or a spell or trap card is activated, pay half your life points to negate the summon or activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Obviously, most of you probably know that effect already, but man, that is just so good. You can always pay half your life points, which can give it an edge against cards like Solemn Strike or Solemn Warning, where sometimes you don't have enough life points to pay for their effects. Obviously, I'm a player that has used Solemn Judgement a bunch of times, especially in control decks like Altergeist, but as I've been experimenting with other decks that aren't control decks, I've been pretty impressed with how good Solemn Judgement has been. Finally, we have Antispell Fragrance, and I feel like a lot of people don't realize just how old this card really is. Antispell Fragrance was released in 2003 in North America as a video game promo, so this card is super old. It is great nowadays. I know in the past it's been a great card against decks like Pendulums, and while you still can use Antispell Fragrance against Pendulums, that mechanic isn't super popular right now. So where Antispell Fragrance has been so popular is against a lot of the really powerful combo decks that play a million spell cards. They have cards like Lightning Storm and Harpies Feather Duster when they're going second, and they have a bunch of extenders and starters that are spells as well. Cards that search cards, cards that special summon monsters from the deck. There are tons of great spell cards in the format, and Antispell Fragrance can really slow down those types of players. I talked about using Judgment against a Dark Ruler No More earlier, and Antispell Fragrance is good for the same reason. In some cases, this card might even be better because it has the potential to shut down more than one card. It's kind of up to you though, because Antispell Fragrance can be destroyed, where the Solemn Judgement you pretty much always know it's going to resolve, unless your opponent happens to have a red reboot, for example. But with Antispell Fragrance, I mean, your opponent could chain a Cosmic or a Twin Twisters. You have to watch out for cards like those, but when it works, it is a very powerful trap. Anyway, that is all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and make sure to follow me on Twitch if you haven't already. I'll see you later. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.